Hi guys, couple little tricks I do with friction shocks and oil-filled shocks. Lately, I watched a guy put oil in some oil-filled shocks. It was these for HBX on YouTube, and then I saw his mistake. He filled it and then he tightened the cap all the way up. And then when he went to press down, it only went down maybe halfway. And it was basically hydrolocking. There's too much oil in there and maybe some air at the top too. So my trick with the top cap off, I fill the oil almost up to the top. But before I go all the way to the top with the oil, I work it up and down a little bit, get some of the air bubbles out. But then, have it fully extended, fill the oil almost to the top. And then I screw the cap on just a few threads so that when I push down real slow and real hard, some oil will come out of the threads on the cap. And then with it pushed down good, that's when I tighten my cap all the way up. So then I know the excess oil is out already. It leaked out the top and the air is out. And then it works good. Then when you run it through the whole stroke, it'll completely work because you already pushed out the excess oil. So that's my little trick on oil shocks. I've been doing it for years. I've got just a house full of RC cars. And that will help you out because a lot of people are always like, well, how do I know how much oil to put in? Well, put it in almost to the top. There's also you see a little rubber, whatever, diaphragm at the top that's kind of got a bubble shape to it. That's kind of helps on the bottoming out. The rod will push against that and stuff. So that's why I don't need to fill it all the way to the top. So anyway, that's my oil-filled shock tip. And then I buy a lot of budget RCs that come with friction shocks. And in the past, I would upgrade them to the oil-filled shocks. But lately, I've been using my trick I do on vintage RCs. I have Tamiya collection from the 80s, Locy's, and then Kyosho's from the 80s. And sometimes the oil is leaking out of the shocks. And where I'm at, it's hard to get the shock rebuild kits. I do have like some automotive O-rings, little tiny ones, and I've got the 1/10 scale O-rings, and sometimes they aren't the right thickness. They're too thick. You can't get the shock put together. So then I put some automotive grease in there because I live in the Philippines. It's always hot. It's not like I drive these things on cold days or anything because there are no cold days. And the grease doesn't come leaking out of the shock. You might see some on the shaft or something, but yeah, it gets rid of the bounce. So that works really good on old leaky shocks if you want to just temporarily do it, or if you permanently do it because you can't get the rebuild kits for some of that old stuff. So I now do that on the friction shocks that come on these things, and it won't work on like PX toys. You see there's a complete slot in the shock, so the grease is just going to come out instantly, and it's not going to help you on those. But like on the HBX, you can put the grease in the factory shocks. These are oil shocks. I upgraded it, but I'm not real happy with it because they're kind of stiff compared to other shocks I've done. I have it on the softest setting. I don't have the threaded adjustment down or anything, but they're really kind of stiff, and it's good for jumping, but I've just noticed a little bit of off-roading, it's not really moving the suspension so much, so I'm not really 100% happy with these. I've had better shocks on my WL toys and other ones I've upgraded. But anyway, this will work on any friction shock that doesn't just let everything out, like this PX toy. So I will just fill this up and kind of show you what it's like afterwards. And I already did the back ones on this Jeep, SCY gantry, and it really helped because the back was just bouncing like a basketball, and now it's not at all like that, but it still is a lot softer than these aluminum shocks I put on the HBX. And these are pretty weird. It looks like it would unthread here, and it would look like it would unthread on the top, but basically they have a hole and a pin that holds the top on, but it's fine. I just get the grease in there and reassemble it, put the pin through, and I run it through its paces, and you see there's some grease on the shaft, but that's fine because it actually, between the shaft and that little screw head that's in there, it slows it down from just doing that basketball jumping. So hang on, we'll top it off and I'll show you what it's like. Okay, here's a shock that I just took the spring off. I didn't do anything, and just look at how it just falls down just with gravity. There's absolutely no resistance, even though they call it a friction shock. There's no friction. So here's the one that I put the grease in. Now, when I tip it upside down, it does not slide out. I actually have to pull it, and sometimes it'll go back up because of the suction in there with the grease. It's like a Dairy Queen Blizzard in there. It's nice and thick, or like peanut butter. And you can see there's a little bit of grease on the shaft, but it's not all going to leak out or anything. You might have some dirt stick to it, but it's fine. They're just cheap shocks anyway, so a little dirt on there, no big deal. And then, it'll definitely help a lot. So we'll come back when I put these all on, and we'll see what it's like. Okay, here's our end result. Just the factory friction shocks, but with grease in them. And the front end is what I would think would be perfect. And then the rear end, a little more bounce, because there's the motor and the battery, but still soft and not bouncing like a basketball. You'll see on YouTube on this vehicle and a lot of the HBX when it's stock with the friction shocks are like a basketball. Now, one thing I can do, I can put wheel bearing automotive grease in there, which is thicker yet, because I just have automotive grease for kind of general purpose, but wheel bearing is thicker. And then Lucas Oil makes a red tacky grease that when I was a mechanic, that stuff's like really like peanut butter. You can throw it at the wall and it'll stick on the wall forever. So you can get that at automotive places. Otherwise, regular grease, just hardware stores, department stores like Walmart and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just one way to use the shocks that come on the vehicle. You don't always have to spend, $15, $10, whatever it is for the aluminum ones. But we can do the bigger drop. It's definitely better than before. It was just keep on bouncing before. So thanks for watching. Hope that helped a little bit. And just like to do some videos once in a while on the little tricks I've learned over all the years of collecting RCs and running them and stuff like that. So please subscribe for some more videos on affordable RC fun. Thanks.